And Phoebe Hosier is one of our producers in the United States with her partner Sam Harley. They were both at the rally and join us now. How are you both?
Okay, considering.
Absolutely rattled. I mean, he was so calm and I was so freaked out. I was terrified.
Talk us through rather what happened and what you saw at that event.
Yeah, we were standing on the right-hand side, probably about 50 metres away from Donald Trump, and I just heard what I thought was firecrackers going off, and I didn't really know what it was at first, and then I saw the Secret Service on the roof further off to the left fire off a volley of shots, and that's when I knew that this was serious, and so we all hit the deck, and it was panic and chaos. Everyone was really scared.
So you saw that from the Secret Service, did you?
Yeah. They were firing back. There was a first round of shots that I assume was from the shooter, and then everyone was kind of a bit unsure what it was, and then the Secret Service fired off shots. I think it was one of the snipers who were on the roof to the right of Donald Trump, and then the Secret Service came running in, tackled Donald Trump to the ground, and basically surrounded him and kept him safe.
And so you saw and heard that from those Secret Service, because we haven't had confirmed reports of that yet.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. But look, there was a lot going on. So maybe it was someone else, but there was definitely shots being fired, and it seemed like it was probably from the Secret Service.
What did you hear and see in terms of the crowd reaction after that? Because when in the pictures that we've seen of the actual event, we saw Donald Trump duck under the podium and the Secret Service come in, and then we saw him raise his fist in the air and the crowd was cheering. Talk to us about the crowd's actions, what you saw and heard.
I mean, from my perspective, I ducked down straight away and I found the crowd's reaction to be mixed. Initially, only a few people just in front of us ducked down along with myself and a few others around us. But there were others who didn't seem so perturbed about the fact that these were gunshots we were hearing. There were a few men that jumped up and they started swearing. Interesting what you guys were discussing earlier about violent language. We overheard people saying F Obama, F the terrorists, amid like numerous other kind of profanities that we'd heard earlier in the rally. So there was real anger. And then when it became clear that Donald Trump had been let off the podium and that all seemed to be somewhat okay, then USA chants broke out, like USA, USA. But I was still so shocked that I had no idea really what was going on and was still so afraid that, that was cold comfort for me. I just wanted to get the absolute hell out of there.
And in that moment, did the mood of the crowd change from, being very angry to then cheering?
I would say it did.
People, when Donald Trump was being let off the stage and it was seemed that he was okay, people were chanting USA, USA, USA.
It felt very patriotic, yes. Yeah. Defiant. And then we were quickly let out of there, out of the showgrounds. We were hearing things all around. There was a woman to my left that said, of course, this would happen in Pennsylvania. There were some who were kind of walking out relatively calmly and others who were just in hysterics. I managed to speak with a man and his fiancée who were further to our right, closer to where a man had been shot and injured. He said that he saw a man shot in the stomach. His fiancée was basically mute. She was so disturbed by what she'd seen. It was pretty horrific.
We're just, Phoebe, going to play some vision that I understand you shot, some stills rather, that you took at this rally. So I think we can see here some snipers on top of a roof. And while we look at these stills, you were talking there about what happened directly after this incident, but what happened beforehand? What did you see in terms of the security in place and what sort of checks the crowd was having to go through?
Yeah, beforehand, you had to line up, go through metal detectors, check your belongings. You couldn't really take much in at all. You couldn't have a bag. And then in terms of security, there was a heavy police force presence there. And then the shots that you saw that we took, there was four snipers on the roof behind either side of Donald Trump in the podium. And they were constantly surveying the area. Yeah, it was quite a lot. So it was surprising that something like this happened because they were continually looking around for threats.
Phoebe, can I just take you back to the people that you spoke to that were to your right, who said that they saw a man that was shot and injured. Is there anything more you can tell us about that?
He said that he was there with his fiancée, that he was standing nearby two little girls, that he immediately dived on their bodies to cover them, and that another man standing near them in the crowd dived to cover his fiancée. He said that he saw the man shot in the stomach, but that he didn't see blood.
And then the paramedics were helping him out.
He then said that they saw medics carry this man out.
And
and that's as much as I can remember.
Did you see that man yourself?
No, we didn't.
No, they were a lot further towards Donald Trump. Than we were.
Thankfully, we didn't see that. Yeah, but it feels sick to think of the people that have died.
What were you told then in terms of evacuating? Was the crowd evacuated fairly quickly, and what happened?
Surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of communication from law enforcement. It wasn't really until we had gotten out of the crowd and were really truly on our way to leave that we were being ushered on by law enforcement. No one came into the crowd to say evacuate, evacuate. Everyone kind of took it upon themselves to leave at their own pace, and some people ran out of there really fast, even while gunshots were going off, and others just hunkered down and stayed, and then others were, as we said, were celebrating and chanting when the president got off stage, and didn't really seem like they were going to leave anytime soon.
It was a very confusing mix of emotions, I must say, because when we heard shots, there was one young guy who just absolutely bolted out of there, which was my instinct, except I was quite frozen in fear. But then there was kind of chanting, quite a patriotic feeling. It wasn't clear if the threat had been subsided, if there was no longer an active shooter. Everyone was kind of calm, but then angry. It was, as I say, a confusing mix of emotions, I'd say.
I'm just going to read out, if you just stay with us, I'm just going to read out some comments that were from the Butler County District Attorney Richard Goldinger, who was speaking to ABC News America, confirming that the shooter is dead, alongside one audience member. Another audience member is in a serious condition. He was saying to ABC News America, at this stage, little is known about the shooter except that he was not within the venue. He said the shooter was on the roof of the building that was adjacent to the venue, and they would not have to go through the security process of entering the rally. Obviously, you don't know all the facts and the details, but from your experience, where does that fit with what was happening at the rally at the time?
Yeah, that seems to be the case. From what I heard of where the shots were coming from, they were coming to our left, which is where I saw the snipers exchanging fire towards as well, and so that was beyond the grounds of the rally, and so they absolutely would not have gone through security. But as I said, the snipers were constantly monitoring in that direction, so it's surprising that the shooter was able to get through.
And funnily enough, about half an hour before Donald Trump appeared on stage, a man to my left had said, I'm sure there's lots of protocols they have to brief the former president on before he goes on stage, just in case things hit the fan, although he used more colorful language. And in my head, I thought to myself, that would be true. But I imagine with, the fact that he's a former president, he would have such, thorough security and the Secret Service being there. It didn't really cross my mind that this would ever happen, an event like this. So it does make sense that someone was not within the venue where we all were screened, that they were in fact outside on a roof, as you say. That makes sense to me.